Welcome everybody, my name is Master Koper and we're on to the 8th part of the detailed spirits. Today I'll be covering the archetypal images intentionally and unintentionally created. So without further ado, let's get to it. Still using my book, still reading it from it, see, it's all there, all written. That book is actually full already. I have another two over there that are, one of them is finished as well and the other one is on the way to be finished, so a lot of notes. I could be sitting there here for days just reading what I've already written, and it's a bundle and mixture of all religions or all types of things that I've studied, occults and other things, different books that I've read, and just joining. Like for example, I wrote about reincarnation 5 times, and each one is completely different from one another. So let's get to it. These are entities that were brought into the existence intentionally or intentionally through collective thought process. Right, now intentionally created archetypes, images, group erogen Egragores. I'll write it down for you, don't worry. These entities are deliberately brought into being by magical lodges to serve as guardians or energy sources for specific magical workings. Group archetypes, I'm just gonna say archetypes, okay? Rather than Egragores, because I cannot pronounce that. Group archetypes are allowed to exist as long as the lodge of their creation exists, and sometimes even longer. The reason they do not become dangerous like normal erogerones lies in the method of their creation. Unlike the later, group erogenores work with the energy current. When not actively working for the magician's goal, these beings exist within their current and do not wander around the physical plane causing trouble. If a magician were to align him or her with himself with no. If a magician were to align himself with a magical current by joining a lodge, then he or she would be able to evoke and work with these beings. A solitary magician, however, has to work with either erogeners of his or her creation or with the archetypal images of the following type, which are unintentionally created archetypal images. It's a big mouthful, and I'm still getting that erogeners really wrong, but I'm gonna write it down so you know what it is. Over the years, a number of grimoires and books on magic have surfaced that some people consider to be questionable. In other words, their origin and authenticity are unclear, making them possible for forges, like forge, making a fake. Thought up by an occultist with nothing better to do. This doesn't mean the beings described in the pages don't exist. The fact that people read these books and try to contact the beings within them makes these entities real. Unintentionally created archetypal images are therefore the result of those fake books of magic. These are created collectively, just like group erogeners, except the process is involuntary and the resulting beings can be contacted by anyone. Therefore, any grimoire that's been around for a few years will contain beings that can be contacted, even though they might not come from wherever sphere or dimension describes in their respective grimoires. These spirits will still have whatever abilities they are described as having, just like erogeners will have whatever attributes one gives them. As collective creations, they exist in a collective conscious that makes up the mental plane. This is where they come from when called this, and this is where they return when banished. Yeah, so basically, so I created an entity called X, and I released a book about it, and thousands of people read it, and they all tried to contact it because they believe that that entity exists, and they put their energy towards contacting it. They actually create that energy. They create that being. So even whenever I studied that, when I wrote the book, that spirit did not exist. Now that it has the energy of thousands of people, it came to existence. So that's roughly the explanation how that works. So with those old grimoires, when you see those beings, they're most likely all there, even if you think it's a fake, because so many people read it, they tried doing it, and they empowered those creatures. I'm gonna leave it here. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing the very last video on the detailed explanation of the spirits. I hope you enjoyed. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.